I really think that the spiritual awakening that happened to me really contributed to me habituating to the point that I'm at today. I was already habituated to tinnitus before the spiritual awakening, but it just really took it to a whole nother level. And I'll explain to you why, because it's very important, I think, to understand this, because it was for me when it happened to me. So my entire life, I never believed in spiritual awakenings. I was just a Christian, and I intellectually knew about the doctrine of the faith, and I read my Bible and stuff like that. And I believed in heaven and hell and all that stuff, but it always felt like there was something more to life that I was missing out on. There's more to life than the American dream. There's more to life than just living in a suburb and working and dying. And I know that so many people feel that. And with the internet now, we're just being more vocal about it. We're just being like, this life is not all there is, because it's not. And I felt that deep in my soul, and I would make music to try and explore that creativity, like that curiosity, that other realm. Now I know it's heaven or consciousness, whatever name you want to give it, God. But at the time I was always like, what am I searching for? And through creative outlets and traveling and stuff, I would try and find it, but it was like I never really could find it. And on the flip side, I always suffered with anxiety, feeling trapped, depression, existential terror, the feeling, just all of it, every anxiety feeling you can imagine, every sort of psychological hell that could be thrown at you, I experienced. Lived my life terrified of traveling, terrified of tinnitus, terrified of existing, terrified of not existing, terrified of living, terrified of dying, just terrified of everything. Agoraphobia, really afraid of everything. I was afraid to get on planes. I was afraid to drive my car. Just afraid. I was a mess. Afraid of tinnitus, just all of it. And so I never in my life ever thought I would be able to backpack the world, solo travel. I never thought I'd be able to build a tech company. I never thought I'd be able to learn how to code. I just thought that I was never going to be able to do the things that I saw people doing that I wanted to do. But now I'm doing it all, so it's not impossible. But what enabled me to go from that state, just pretty much just emotionally dead, spiritually dead, to alive, truly alive for the first time ever in my life. This last year has just been completely insane. It comes down to this. How I saw life before was this machine that I was trying to control. Like, I was trying to control how people saw me, myself, my image. I was trying to control the tinnitus. I was trying to control everything. Like, I didn't want to travel because it might trigger anxiety. I didn't want to, be alone because I might trigger depression. Just everything. I was trying to control my life. As opposed to now, I don't control anything. It's as if I'm just flowing with life. It's as if life is flowing through me, and it's like a current. I'm just like surfing the wave. That's how it feels now. I just post videos, I build code, I sit in a hammock, I hang out with friends. If whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Let it happen. Like, complete surrender. And I didn't get like this overnight, but because I'm like that now, there's no anxiety, there's no fear about tinnitus, there's no tinnitus fear loop, there's no doom loop, there's just peace and love and inspiration and like all of the things that we always found, right? I have nothing less than I have ever had in my entire life, and I'm the happiest and freest that I've ever been in my entire life. So then what happened? How did this happen? Well, for me, it was a spiritual experience. It was very terrifying because I lost my ego, essentially. I lost my identity. I felt for a long time I was kind of sort of like walking around in a haze. I was like I can't function. Like I even reached out to medical doctors. I thought I was losing my mind. I got evaluated, and they're all like, no, you're just stressed out and all this stuff. But I didn't think that really sit well. Anyway, I started reading old ancient literature from Christian mystics, and I found Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross. Dark Night of the Soul, St. John of the Cross. And when I read what a Dark Night of the Soul was, I realized, oh my gosh, that happened to me. I experienced a dark night of the soul. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm walking a very spiritual journey that the mystics, the Christian mystics, Buddhists, Sufis, have walked, this spiritual path of the ego dying and the real you rising up, right? Jesus says to crucify the false self. What is that? Well, the flesh brings death, but the spirit breathes life. The Bible, Christianity calls it the flesh. Buddhism calls it the ego. There's different names, but it's essentially the you that you think is you that isn't really you. That was the me that was terrified of tinnitus. That was the me that wanted to stop this. That was the me that was terrified of it and all this stuff. So when I began to realize that that wasn't really me, and all of the fear was just mental noise, like thoughts, I began to then be like, whenever I would see the tinnitus doom loop, I was like, oh, that's just a thought. That's not really me. Whereas before the awakening, I was trapped inside my thoughts. Like, they were a maze. Like, I would see a thought and I couldn't see how this wasn't true. Now I see my thoughts more of like a movie where I could be like, oh, I could believe that one. I'm not going to believe that one. I'm going to launch this app. I'm not going to worry about my past. That's completely irrelevant. Oh, the tinnitus doom loop is trying to come back online. Not a big deal. We're just going to meditate and let that thought pass like a wave. And so it's like I'm not attached to my thoughts. They're not me. Whereas before they felt like me. So if it's the best thing that can ever happen to a human being, I think, because it really does. It's like it deletes all of the malware that was in your head that society programmed you to believe. You're this job, you have to do this, you need this thing to make you feel good about yourself. You don't need any of that, dude. You literally could just sit in a hammock and that's all you need to do and you're fine, you know? And so now I work because I'm excited, because I love what I do. I don't work to try and be good enough. I'm already good enough, right? There's that in the Bible when the heavens open up and God says, this is my son to whom I'm well pleased, right? God's already pleased with you. So you don't need to work to try and earn anything. You already are. You just forgot. So now that's the spiritual transformation that sort of happened with me. And so I saw tinnitus and worrying, and the tinnitus doom loop is just completely irrelevant. Like, why did I ever worry about it? And now when I see if I see the tinnitus doom loop, if it ever does come, I'm just like, it'll pass. It's not a big deal. And so the reason people get so fixated on it is because they're from a place where they haven't had a spiritual awakening and they're trapped in their thoughts. They really see it as, when their mind says that tinnitus is hopeless, you can't recover, they see it as objective truth. They can't see beyond it. Now I can see beyond it because that's what happens when your ego dies. The ego doesn't really, it comes back online. So my ego did reform itself and come back online. But it's now I use it more as like a tool. It doesn't control the show. It doesn't run the show. It doesn't decide and dictate. You do need an ego because you have to get through life. You have to order food. You have to make videos. You have to make money. You have to work a job. So you do need an ego. But here's the difference. Before, the ego, I believe the ego was me. Now, I know that I am the deeper awareness. Right? I am a child of God. I am made in God's image. I am the divine consciousness. That is the Christ consciousness. That's my true identity. The ego is just it's like an interface that helps me interact with life. It says, well, maybe take an umbrella because it might rain today, and maybe let's order some food or this or that. So it doesn't control the show as it used to. But anyway, if you want to take the tinnitus test, go to tinnitus.health, take the tinnitus test, and if you want to check out the tinnitus app, I would love for you to do that. Make sure to comment on the video. I'm going to do a part 2 to this because I have to go do something real quick. But I'm going to do a part 2 to this video. But I will talk to you later. Peace.